certain thought crosses your mind, especially when that storm of thought, emotion, and more pain is a swirling cyclone, a tempest, and you find yourself saying something, and then it occurs to you, where did that come from? I'm here to care for you and encourage you if you're in pain, whether it's physical pain, such as I experience, or if you're grieving, or if you're holding a lot of stress, so much so that you feel stuck. I'm Rick Cram, a resilience coach, developer of Plan to Be Your Best as you navigate pain, and welcome to Plan to Be Your Best Live. I'm here for you to provide you with encouragement and some insights into what you can do, positive things that you can do when you find yourself saying something that surprises you. There was one particular time several years ago when I realized I had this thought as I'm driving along. I'm in a lot of pain. And I heard myself say, in every breath, I'm fighting to survive and thrive. And it caught me at first. In fact, I didn't share that with anyone for at least a year. I wanted to give that some thought. I wanted to think about where it was coming from. I thought, is this good for me? What if I replaced it with something else? What is it revealing to me that I need to care for and to process in this journey with pain? If we're connecting for the very first time, um, I had the seventh surgery on my left knee in 2019, almost 6 years ago, and it's been in a state of trauma. And the chronic, intense pain that I experience every day has created many times when I've thought of a particular thought. I had a certain feeling, and I wasn't sure where it came from. From the Plan to Be Your Best approach, there are the three steps of resilience: tune in, plan, and be your best. They are designed to do a number of things, including win back the way pain can hijack our focus, sap our energy, and frustrate our hope. They are also steps to take through the course of going into each of the 8 domains of thriving. Each domain is a center of wisdom, a center of questions and exercises to discover and strengthen your own unique resilience and to learn how to thrive even with the pain. The second domain of thriving is listen. The L in plan stands for listen. There's a quote by Winston Churchill: it takes courage to stand up and speak, but it also takes courage to sit down and listen. Not only listen to others, but to listen to yourself. If you're in pain, like I am, I think you'll find as we spend some minutes together here that there's a lot to gain, a tremendous amount to gain from sitting down and applying some active listening to ourselves. Let's tune in for a moment. Let's take those 3 steps of resilience and tune in to listening to yourself, the words that you're using, the thoughts that you have, the emotions that you have. And let's start with breaking it down into two categories, if you will. There's the set of words that you use to describe the pain. And there's also your vocabulary of resilience, the words to describe the pain experience. Maybe it's not just the pain that you're referring to, but what it's doing to you, such as in that statement, in every breath, I am fighting to survive and to thrive. What words come to mind? And if you have something to write down these words on your phone, in your notes, perhaps a piece of paper and pencil. Also, at rickcram.com on my homepage, you'll scroll down to the part about the 3 steps of resilience, and you can print out a free Plan to Be Your Best worksheet for the 3 steps of resilience. It's a free fillable PDF. It'll be right there for you, and you can use it time and time again for each time that we're together on these videos, whether you're with me live. I go live every Friday at 12 noon Eastern and every Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern. Or if you're watching this recording, you can use that PDF over and over again. And it's a fillable PDF, so you can actually use it on your devices. What words come to mind when you're thinking about the pain or your pain experience? One of the reasons I ask is that one of the 8 to 10 different things that I discovered that I need to do to live with this pain for the rest of my life if I'm never able to find a solution. And I came across this spring this list, and I'm sharing it with you in this series of videos with Plan to Be Your Best Live. You'll see in each of the two previous videos the first 6 or 7 different items on the list. I'm going to spend this particular video focusing on just this aspect. And it has to do with this. I realized that I needed to better understand my own subconscious, those things that are happening automatically. There are things that, since our subconscious is basically the driver of our automatic thoughts, our automatic emotional responses, our automatic actions without actually making a choice. They just happen as part of a common pattern that's within our subconscious. The more I realized, the more I pay attention to those patterns of thoughts, of words, of meanings, and of emotions, the more I realize I can strengthen my unique resilience. And likewise, I want to encourage you to do the same. And in fact, that's what we're talking about here, identifying and strengthening your own unique resilience. What words come to mind? While I'm live here on YouTube and Facebook, feel free to chat. I've got the chat tool open here so I can answer any questions that you have, reflect on the words that you have. I think of words that have come to mind regarding the pain and pain experience, ranging from very negative words, words that I realize I need to squelch or quickly replace with something more common, more positive. If I find, and I have heard myself say, it's come from my subconscious, I can't take this anymore. So part of my own unique resilience and what's in my resilience toolkit are a set of words that I will quickly use to replace them, those negative words or those negative labels. To describe the pain with any particular label means that we are describing the pain with some kind of attitude, with some kind of perspective, and it's usually something negative. I now rarely use any words to describe the pain. I'll often say that I have no words, but I've got plenty to describe my resilience. That's part of what my resilience looks like. I've identified those negative words that I've used in the past, or thoughts such as, I can't take this anymore, to replace it immediately and repeat over and over again, I can do this. I can do this. It doesn't mean I don't feel the pain. It doesn't mean I don't grieve the loss of comfort. It doesn't mean that I don't need to care for those feelings that are being reflected, those automatic responses that are in my subconscious. Indeed, just as I've shared with you in the past, and I'll share it all the time, is that one of the greatest lessons I've learned through decades of pain, and especially the daily pain since the last surgery, is that the level of pain needs to be matched by a level of intentionality. And one of the ways to be intentional is to take a look at, think through our words, what meaning we see reflected in those words, what emotions are connected to those words, and care for them, understand them. That's what we do when we're tuning in. So, what words come to mind? And now let's go into the plan step. Which of those words reflected something negative? Which of those words or thoughts are not true? Which ones need to be replaced with something positive? It doesn't mean you're going to stop having those words surface, but what matters is basically your responsibility for and to those words, your ability to respond. And again, flex that muscle of intentionality to be deliberate and purposeful in the way that you're responding to them. Your ability to respond, that's your responsibility. And it strengthens your resilience to basically certainly care for them, understand that, understand and identify the ways that you in your own unique way can care for those, or find others to care with you and for you, working through some of these, but to be able to move forward and regain that positivity, basically strengthen your ability with new tools such as these to spark new positive energy to replace the energy that pain had taken away. What words might you have written down that have a particular question to them, a mystery perhaps? Is there something more you need to understand behind those words? When I said to myself, in every breath, I'm fighting to survive, that's the part that really alarmed me. And it was basically a time to recognize and be honest about the toll that this is taking, all this pain, and everything that goes with it. Doctors being getting to the point where they can't come up with anything that helps. Surgery is no longer an option. Although I'll share with you, I had an appointment yesterday, the second appointment in a string of appointments, getting closer to a spinal cord stimulator, having a trial of it sometime in the weeks or months ahead, where they'll put two electrical leads into my spine, connecting with certain nerves, and an outside device which will send pulses of um, a stimulation, electrical pulses, to basically try to greatly diminish as much as possible the pain signal traveling from my knee to my brain. And I will tell you that I was paying a lot of attention to the words in yesterday's appointment. This is not something that I wish I I wish I didn't have to do this. I don't like the idea of my back being tampered with. The idea of having two electrodes put in my back is something that I'm not comfortable with. I shared this with my doctor when he was prescribing this a few weeks ago, and he looked me in the eye and said, "You need to set that aside." And I've done that. I've put that up on the shelf, and I don't need to care for it right now. I need to focus on going through this. In the same way, are there certain words, certain thoughts that you have, perspectives about your pain experience and the pain itself that might best be put on the shelf for a little while? When it's on the shelf, it does mean you can take it down when you really need to and care for it and process it. But perhaps there are times like now when I need to put something on the shelf. Is there something that you found in your words and the meaning of those words, your emotions, something that's automatically coming from your subconscious that really needs, it's best to put it up on the shelf for a while? Doing that allows you to focus on what you need to do now. Does anything come to mind? So if you answer these questions and follow through on these exercises, we get to the point where we have a chance to make a choice. What word might have stood out that is perhaps not the best for you? It might not even be the best, if you will, for those who mean the most to you, for you to have that word and hold on to it. Is there a word that you should replace with it? And by should, I mean it's going to simply be beneficial for you. Is there a word that is doesn't serve you? Is there a word that's not serving you in your journey with pain, your journey with resilience, and needs to be replaced? What is that word? And simply to be your best as we go into this step, it's simply an invitation. It's a call to action, to practice. Every time you hear that word come up within yourself, whether you're just thinking it, or perhaps you've journaled it, or perhaps you've shared it with someone, what word are you going to replace and practice that positive word? For example, when I replaced that thought, every breath I'm fighting to survive and fighting to thrive, I replaced that simply with a decision to focus on that thriving. I will choose to focus on thrive. And when I focus on that, I start to experience thriving. I experience more positive thoughts. So let me also invite you, if you're someone who is caring for someone in pain, let me invite you to listen to them. And this is also something comes out of the listen domain of thriving. For those of us who care for others in pain, there are a number of things to listen for. Applying active listening And I would invite you and encourage you as you're listening to someone in pain to listen, not so much more to think of what to say, but rather listen to understand three things. What might you reflect back to them, what they just said, so that they have a chance to more closely, more intimately observe their own thoughts and their own feelings. Active listening that's what active listening looks like, where you're listening so well that you can repeat back to the person you're listening to so that they can reflect on what they just shared. It also it also acknowledges that you are listening so closely. Listen for opportunities to make connection. A couple of intense needs that people in pain have is the need for connection, the need for understanding, and the need for encouragement. You can feel relaxed, if you will, not pressured to say the right thing, but think about what you might share that is about not so much about the pain, perhaps not so much about what they said, but a way to make connection, such as you might listen to something and want to respond to it, maybe even try to, you might be feel tempted to have a solution, or you might be tempted to want to say something that makes it all better. But what if you simply say, thank you for sharing that with me. I just want you to know I'm here for you. Anytime you want to talk, I'm here for you. Establish connection. That is so much more good for both your relationship as well as for the person in pain. How might you encourage them? Well, one of my best friends once replied to a text I wrote how I'm being tested. The pain was especially overwhelming. And his reply was magical. He replied simply, seems to me you've already passed that test. And that just reminded me of the resilience that I do have. That gave me a new sense of energy to navigate what was overwhelming in that moment. Thank you, David. So tune in, plan, and then be your best. The more you tune in, the more you can take a look at those automatic words that are coming to the surface from your subconscious, those thoughts, those feelings, and perhaps there are certain actions that are a response to triggers. That's how you can take a look at your subconscious and look for keys of those things through your listening, through your understanding, that give you new sources for how to be resilient, new things to replace, words and emotions to replace those negative ones that might not serve you as well. I look forward to your questions, any particular comments that you might share, anything that you share even after this has become a recording. I'll always be checking the comments, and anything that you share, I'll reply. If you have any questions, I'll create a video with answers, or I'll write to you in the comments with answers to your questions. I'm here to remind you that your best is greater than the pain. I wish you well as you seek your own unique and strengthen your own unique resilience and way to thrive even with the pain. Certainly, please subscribe if you like. If you've listened to this, watched this, your subscription means so much to me. It helps support my purpose, which is to help equip individuals and groups to plan to be their best as they navigate pain. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day.